You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show.
And we're live!
Yes, of course!
Excellent. Well, here we are. I see that we have the Paste Bin Patriots. I don't know what that's about.
Let's just say the people who need to know that joke will get that joke very clearly.
Okay, well, I guess that's not me. But we have a fantastic panel here today. We have so many guests that I didn't list them all in the broadcast or in the tweet. We have Shingley, we have Apple Pear, Boris Agnon, Boat, of course, not really a guest at this point, as you, Jay Amazingness, our color commentator, and K Color. And we are all brought here today.
Oh, we got one more coming. He's he raced to the store and he's racing back. Vertiso, the harassment legend himself, is going to be on. I tried to get Gunnel to come on, but he couldn't make it. So we'll have Vertiso here shortly to also add to the list of wonderful commentators. So for those who don't know, all the people in this list are all elite solo PvP Titan pilots who, like Jay Amazingness, probably could have pulled off some amazing hattery. And we'll get into that. So yeah, it's going to be a great show.
We're going to be winging it here today. Also, thank you for the sub, by the way.
Yes.
And Red Chief also. So what we're going to do, I think, to begin with, since we are sort of winging it, is we're going to just go down the list of guests and have people introduce themselves and say what part they played in X47, just so that we have some idea. In case you missed the news, there was for those of you who are just joining us and have no idea what's happened, thank you for the cheer. We had kind of a big fight on Wednesday, where it was the biggest battle since BR5 in 4 years ago.
It's the largest number of Titans used in a single fight.
And we won again, just like BR5. No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we've won every major Titan brawl that involved more than 200 Titans in the last 3 years to 4 years, or whatever BR was. Yeah,
I was told that we weren't going to be performing and we don't fight their capitals because we're too scared.
That's right. Yeah. I was very confused because, according to the enemy, they're the ones that have the faction Titans and use them, and yet we're the ones who actually did. But let's go ahead and introduce our guests.
Yeah, so the topic for today, in case it's not overly clear, we're literally just going to talk about Wednesday. That's it. That's it. We're all just going to talk about that and all the fun. So our first guest up is Mr. Shingley. Hello, Shingley.
Hello.
So what were you involved in?
So I was one of the Titan pilots and was mostly doing things like helping keep comms organised during the entire event.
Oh, so you're part of Mini-True.
Minicom.
Yeah.
Minicom, that's it, yeah. There's so many mini names. How was that? Like, how was the struggle?
People were really well behaved and like sort of didn't cause too much chaos, which was really, really nice. Other than that, it's just sort of keeping a track of people who are actually getting up and whatnot.
Obviously, you were no Killer Bee in that situation. You didn't really have to struggle that hard, did you?
No, not at all.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, cool.
For people who haven't heard the joke,
we got the link. Yeah, I gave it
one of the reasons why this was kind of funny is, the Imperium, being so large, does have a Ministry of Communication whose job it is to protect everyone from communication. So the Ministry of Communication notices communications and stops it. Our enemies had to deal with a little bit of black hand fuckery because they had open comms, and we sent some of our agents over there. Gunnel and Vertiso in particular just did an amazing job of just like randomly keying up, making strange noises, playing Gay Bar by Electric Six. Just over and over and over.
The best part about what they were doing, and Vertiso will be here in just a moment, he just got back, is that these guys aren't even Black Hand people. These were just, hey, we figured out that they're using something really stupid, and we found a way to exploit it, and they were just sitting on their making cough noises and sneezing and slamming their keyboard. Basically, if you can imagine the guys in the movies that make the sound effects, that's what these two were doing for 5 hours on their comms constantly. They couldn't ban them quick enough. It was absolutely glorious.
Our guys had a lot of experience with that, because that's basically just goon comms half the time.
Pretty much.
They weaponized it.
So we got the audio link for you. There's shorter versions here and there. Listen to that after the show. It's a great listen. There's about 5 or 6 gems in the 1 hour skit. But imagine this went on from 1800 till the fight was over. So this was like a 13-hour constant thing that these two were doing.
It definitely drove the bad guys crazy, which is just beautiful.
Would you have to kick the entirety of your allies off your comms just to make sure that you don't have people doing this? Yeah, it's amazing.
As Ardev says in chat, there's the sound of typing, possibly with a hammer. Yeah, it was periodically they would just like take their microphone and like hold it next to a fan for a few seconds, so you just hear on their comms like fan noises.
The Tossie Station one was the best, and when they tried to say, "What the hell are you doing?" he replied with, "What, you're telling me you don't like this?" Oh, it was great. All right, so next guest, Apple Pear. Hey, Apple Pear.
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you did.
I did a few things. I was goon canning all our subcap fleets. I had command of one of the super fleets, the red fleet, and one of the biggest things I did was making sure all our supers and titans and carriers and dreads who wanted to join the fight late could get there and could join into the fun.
The reinforcement stuff was critical. This is something that we had that the enemy really didn't have, and Apple Pear was instrumental to that. Essentially, as the fight wore on and we got closer and closer to U.S. time zone, and people realized that there was a fight, we were losing at first. Like this was a come from behind win. We had to close the gap. We lost the first Titans. And the fact that we were able to continually send more pilots into the fire meant that at the by the end of it, we had 300 plus Titans on the field, while the bad guys only had like 170. So thank you, Apple.
I'm trying to get the battle report for
You're
this.
welcome.
I'm trying to get the battle report for this. Kunmi has a great one. If I can find it, if someone can find it, it'd be great. But basically, at the beginning, we knew they were going to DD first because as we learned in UALX, the guys who have tether get to DD first. But one of the biggest parts about this was their use of an exploit that exists in the way tether mechanics work. So we learned pretty quickly that if they DD'd without using their guns, so if they DD'd and the target died, so you throw 60 DDs, target died, their cooldown for tether was only 60 seconds instead of the full 5 minutes of the DD. That's something that only happens with focus DDs and only happens if the target dies. So if we somehow rep the target, which we did 4, 5, 6 times, their timers would continue. So they learned really quick that if they don't shoot anything and just DD, they could DD and retether before we could return fire. We eventually found a solution for that, and we'll get to that in a moment. Boris, how's it going?
Hello, I'm Boris.
Tell us about yourself, Boris. What did you do in X47?
I'm a coordinator, so I coordinated things and I shot things with my Titan. I made sure fleets ran to the right things and shot the right things.
What kind of Titan did you have?
An Avatar.
Ooh.
Did you lose your avatar?
No. Unfortunately, most of the base-wind Patriots got dropped out of range, so we were mostly out of range of the enemy hostile blob. So we actually never got shot at, which is sad.
Well, it is interesting how many. This is basically a bad day for Erebuses all the way around.
Yeah, what's interesting too is I think that was their mistake. They went for things like an Erebus. There was I think we had 3 Erebuses, tank DDs, get fully wrapped up, when they could have easily have killed Leviathans, I think. Including my own, definitely could have killed a Leviathan for sure. And at one point in the audio, we linked. Killabees asked, "Hey, do you want to go for a Ragnarok? We have one." And he's like, "No, I know who you're talking about. No, we're not going for that one." So I don't know what they were thinking. Ragnarok's a pretty thin tank, same with the Leviathans, so I have no idea why they
that's a good opportunity for us to, Jay Amazingness as our color commentator and typical guest who is usually with us and rarely gets to talk. So Jay, can you tell us what you were doing? I know that you had a little small gang action, and maybe you can explain to us also why everybody was primarying Erebus's. Jay?
He probably disconnected. He's going to end up having to fight PL Dreads again.
Well, we can skip Jay for a moment. And K-Color, you're another color commentator I love having on this show. What were you in during that fight? What were you up to?
I was in an Avatar and a Ragnarok, which could never load grid.
Never?
Yeah. It would just keep reconnecting and start loading in, and then it would be unexpected error.
A tremendous number of our forces were, it's a good thing that we had way more Titans than the bad guys, because I think that a huge chunk of them just couldn't do anything due to CCP.
Yeah, I don't think we win that fight without having the numbers that we had, due to the way that the DDs were working. At one point in the fight, one of our heroes, Mr. Zungan himself, took did in a dashboard. They had 182 Titans to our 320 at one point. That was around the time the Keepstar went reinforced, so about 6 hours into the fight. That's pretty spectacular numbers. Like, almost double what they have is just unbelievable. The final numbers, actually, of all Titans involved on our side, if this kill board is accurate, and it tends to be pretty accurate, we had 397 Titans to their 340. But the fact that they had 340 and by, I'd say about the halfway point, only 180, tells you a lot. Like, a lot of their guys just said fuck it and docked up. Or fuck it and logged off, right? They had the option.
Maybe they were all faction Titans and they had to dock up.
Go ahead, Kid Color, sorry.
I explained it the other day to the fleet. Basically, it's like World Wars, where the Euros just kind of held out until the Americans came in and finished it off.
That is a great analogy. We love to do World War II analogies on this show for some reason. But that is an interesting analogy. It felt like their steam was burning out. Like, you had Killoughby trying his best to lie to them. At one point in this audio clip, he says, "We've killed 22 and lost 10. They only ended up killing 27 total in a 13-hour fight. This audio clip portion is about 4 hours in. There ain't no fucking way in hell they killed 22 at 4-hour mark. Like, it just wasn't happening. But another...
Well, I mean, Killoughby being full of shit is not exactly...
yeah, I mean, you gotta... The thing that gets me about this, and this is, I think, the number one mistake, and I think most people in here would agree with me, his number one mistake was feeling that he had to lie to keep his members motivated. A lot of
Jay,
times...
are you back?
No, he's still not back yet.
Jay was actually just texting.
Oh!
Okay, so we had to skip over you. We were going to ask you...
Yes! Jay, tell us about it!
Your adventures.
What did you do? Oh, God.
What do you mean, what did I do?
The fight! Like, what was your...
Tell us about your...
Tell us your
We're
adventures!
asking people what you did in X-47.
You brought Solo back.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, though. I wanted to, like... I felt really bad, like, halfway through the fight, because, I could tell Ash was getting tired. Like, without him saying, I could tell that he was, like... Because it was just him for most of it. And, I felt bad because I was meant to be there with him, but I just couldn't log into the character that I had on grid. And then one of my Titans was off in the safe spot. I got Dread bombed and refit both on them and signed in some of my own Dreads and some of my own faxes and...
I do have a question for you, Jay.
Yes.
How many times has Sir Edmund been Dread bombed now?
I think that's the second, but it's the first one I've survived.
Feels like it's been more times than that.
Can you tell the story about bumping snakes off? That was a fantastic little adventure that you had after the stream cut off.
Come to the end of the fight. They were docking up and everything, and I didn't jump my main character into the fight at any time because I was the only thing my main character can really fly is either Dread or a fax. So I had a fax on standby. I actually saved a Bastion Titan that jumped out and DC'd in the midpoint. I saved him from some Black Legion dreads, and then I reshipped into my lift. And the lift I had was like a bumping one, like it goes like 1.4 kilometers a second, and it's used for bumping Titans off of structures. So the idea is you're scouting Arsenal Titan that's bridging off of Fortizar. He bridges, and then you sign him in 70 kilometers away, and MWD at him and bump him off tether. Then sign him in, your gang to kill him.
So the reason for... Oops, sorry. A lot of people don't realize the reason that worked is he was offline. That Titan was offline that got bumped. A lot of people think, oh, he got bumped off, but he was actually offline at the time. There were 3 Titans offline. 2 eventually came back, tethered up, docked up. But even though he was tethered, we still managed to bump him off. Which was...
So what happened was...
I don't think anyone was thinking about doing it. Yeah.
And it was a him, or it was an Erebus that we were going to go for, because the Erebus wasn't in a good spot. The other 2 avatars that were AFK were in pretty hard spots to bump off, so it would take a lot longer. So I was going to go for the Erebus because it's an easier target. But he logged off, like his ship model disappeared, or he dogged, or whatever.
Right.
So I went for snakes in the avatar, and I got a couple good bumps on him, and then just bumped him out of tether. Yeah,
there's a certain guy in here. Well, I won't be bragging too much, but the thing is the reason that worked was that we knew he had 2.5 hours before he logged off. Tibrizzle knew that in full tie-dye, 10% tie-dye, it takes 2.5 hours for you to disappear in your normal 15-minute timer. So we had plenty of time from the time he stopped fighting, because we had tried to kill him, and right as we went to get ready to DD him, he tethered. So we knew he was still aggressed. And so we sent in a lift, and they didn't realize we were doing it till about the 3rd bump, and then they targeted the Keepstar on a very defenseless lift. And we still bumped him way off, which was hilarious. I actually, to be honest with you, even though I wanted us to do it, I didn't think we could do it. Like, I didn't know if his tether would continue, because usually if you safe log, right? If you safe log on a Keepstar and you get bumped, you disappear, right? Like, even if you go off tether.
Also, like a bunch of other things, like people would see him in a different location to what I was seeing him at. So there was a bunch of these things going on. So we weren't sure if we were going to get it. And then, he bumps off. He goes like 1.3 kilometers a second off. Then like 200 Doomsdays fire at him.
So if you watch,
I wanted to ask this because we still haven't actually got the explanation. Though it looks like we have it in chat, which is why were Erebuses the ones that were primary to cross?
Erebuses are all passive tanks. So you passive tank an Erebus, right? You fit all those. Oh, sorry.
Well, they have a lower tank, and in a Doomsday fight, if the primary objective is to kill other ships that can Doomsday, you're going to go for the lowest tank ones first. Also, the Erebus does a lot more damage in terms of its Doomsday. So my Erebus was doing 250,000 damage per Doomsday on an avatar compared to like the 170,000 that my avatar was doing to another avatar.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
EM tank and explosive tank tend to be the biggest armored tanks on any Titan, whereas kinetic and thermal are the lowest. So Leviathans and Erebuses do the most damage when they're throwing DDs.
I don't know what happened. Can we make fun of that?
Yeah,
go for it.
Go ahead.
I saw there was a couple of NC Erebuses that had every other hardener but kinetic. Do they not realize we have 50 levies?
Well, that's another.
The levies did so much damage compared to everything else.
Here's an interesting too. We didn't talk about this, but they tried something that was actually rather ingenious that ended up being their demise. And so the one thing you'll notice is when I showed you all those Titans, Goons have a shitload of avatars. We don't have as many Erebuses as they do. They have generally around 50-50. They'll have avatars to Erebuses, about 50-50. Whereas we just have an absolute godly number of avatars. And by them fitting the emergency hull energizer and the fit that they went with, their EM hulls were actually really low for an armored tank ship. Their Erebuses, even their avatars, did not have a lot of EM, and that was noticed pretty quickly that after we killed the first avatar, they just did not have a lot of EM. So our avatars were doing an absolute lot more damage to them than they were to us, I think, which is a big deal.
We haven't had a chance to bring in and introduce Verticio.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Or I always say Verticio, but it might actually be Vertiso. Sorry, dude.
It's fine.
How do you say it? Correct us here.
Vertiso, I guess. I never really put too much thought into it when I made the character.
Oh.
And I made the character name about 10 years ago and didn't think I'd still be using it 10 years
I know
later.
how that feels.
Yeah. Yeah, but my contribution wasn't too massive. It was more of a couple of us just having some fun, really. And it kind of got out of hand a bit, maybe. But when you make a temp link open to all the pandemic horde, I don't know what you expect to happen, really.
So yeah, explain to us, like, what happened there? How did you manage to do what you did? Like, what went on? What did you actually do?
Obviously, they've been doing joint ops for the last couple of months, I guess, and recently they've been using a temp link so they can all join NC comms. And we weren't even using our character names. We were just looking at the pandemic horde corp list, picking out a random name, putting it into the temp link creator, joining, and then yeah.
One key thing here for the viewers, and Mittens, I don't know if you were aware of this or not. Vertiso, I believe you got banned at one point, and as in the process of getting banned, you screamed an explicitive, and then within about 5 minutes, you were back on with a brand new character to name. Is that the case?
I got a couple of screenshots where it was like, "You've been kicked from the server by Killer Bee. Get fucked, goon." And then like 30 seconds later, "Welcome back to the server." Gennel was coming on, just continuing the same conversation about Belgian white ale, and they weren't enjoying that very much, and he just keep coming back with the same thing. But yeah, we only got silly when we realised we could literally rejoin with the same names with no consequence. But before that, we were trying to obviously be a bit more subtle and a bit more. Yeah,
that's beautiful, dude. That is absolutely beautiful.
This only like happened because Horde doesn't require APIs for any of the characters. So if you've got one in, you've got them all in.
Like literally, at one point, they came up with a character name that was a guy's alt for one of like the main guys, and it was like so and so's GF, which was one of his alts. So it was like they were just picking random names, and it took them that long to realize. And one of the things that the NC guys try to pride themselves on is how secure their comms are. But they could have literally done that with anyone. They could have done MC, they could have done Darkness. They had temp links for all these different people that were available. Just Horde is the most, or I guess you could say the easiest one. And the thing is, at one point, they kicked a guy. You hear it in the audio. They kick a guy, and they realize that's one of their super capital guys. Because they were just trying to kick people they thought were the spy keyed up.
Oh, they were kicking lots of people. If you listen to the clip, there's a point where a pilot had been disconnecting for 5 hours and he hadn't been able to get in. And he kind of complained about it. He was, whining a little bit, which is understandable. And he just got shut down. He just got told to like F off, get the fuck out of my fleet, etc., and kicked off comms. And that's one of your Titan pilots that was trying to log in, and obviously he's frustrated. But it wasn't very supportive atmosphere.
So I got a link.
That's beautiful.
I got a link, and we're gonna have K-Color talk about this because I know you tend to get pretty involved in everything going on, and you have your hand in everything. This is a link and shows participation broken down by alliance. Apparently, a guy in CO2 made this and posted it onto the Reddits. But apparently, there was a really big complaint by NC leadership, and I think even Killer B at one point, that they were disgusted by the fact that 75% of the Titans that mattered were NC. And if we look at this link, yeah, they're about 66% of the Titans are NC. And this is something I find very strange. And because in Goons, nobody cares if you bring one Titan from your alliance or 1,000 Titans. You showed up, hooray, high five. Your Titan brought an alliance, great. Now we have one more Titan than they do. But how does this work for them? How do they justify it, K-Killer?
Well, I'm not really sure why I would be able to answer that. It's just, it's always been the NC show. Like we called them the babysitters as soon as they moved in, and that's all it is. And Sword Dragon's bullshit response about, oh, we offered them the Keep Star in DO6 a while ago, and they just said no, but now they're taking it. So that makes it okay, guys.
Oh yeah, that's
I think
that's breaking. That's something that we haven't talked about, have we?
Well, would you, if you were NC, would you want to put your Super in Titan fleet in a Citadel owned by GATG?
This is new. Okay, so yeah, we haven't revealed this on any of the shows or anything, But the DO6H Keepstar is now in the ownership of Northern Coalition. Darkness, and in this case Slice, no longer owned that Keepstar. It was in their hands since it was dropped. And the moment that Armor Timer hit, we knew that it was a possibility that this would happen. And it did. We found it last night. So NC now firmly owns it.
You babysit someone for long enough, like, and the parents have a spare bedroom in the house. That's what this is.
It's no longer babysitting. They're the new nanny.
They're a nanny. Oh my God, they're a live-in nanny.
They're a live-in nanny. Yeah, they have their own little granny house in the back and everything now. But actually, it's really hilarious, and you tend to know about Riot Rick, K-Color, is that he made a post under Asher's thread saying, well, aren't you guys going to talk about the fact that they gave us one of their Keepstars? Apparently 7X was transferred to Darkness as a way to justify giving up their Keepstar. I don't understand how that works. Like,
I really have... You know, I have no idea. This whole thing is just amazing to me. I was noticing, somebody pointed out in chat that the CO2 person who totted up the Titans is still bitter and calling the Imperium the CFC. So somebody was wondering, what is the CFC? That's what that is. The people
I don't know.
Asses we kicked try to call us names that we no longer call ourselves, as if that's going to stick it to the Goonies. Doing whatever they can to own.
I also want to point out,
almost as bad as GOTG renaming their entire coalition, including their Discord, to Dead Coalition.
Almost as bad.
Almost. But here's the thing I want to point out, and then a lot of people might see this, is in this sheet, Mercenary Coalition brought 20 Titans, which was almost as many as the entire coalition of GOTG, which is kind of ridiculous, considering Mercenary Coalition's been on the death rows for about 6 months now.
Did you hear the clip where I think an MC Titan died, and I don't think Killer meant to say it in Global, but he said, oh, don't worry, it's just an MC Titan that died, lol.
Oh, no. I just realized, I just realized we're 30-second delayed because last night I had to play an audio clip that I'd never heard before for an hour, and that would explain some of the delays.
That's why chat is lagging a little
bit. Yeah, sorry, that's my fault. It's a 30-second delay on the audio because last night I was playing the Killer Bee thing, and I had never heard it before, so I had to be ready to cancel the stream in case he started throwing out explicitives or things like that.
Can you turn that off, or is it?
I have to restart the stream.
Is the whole stream delayed 30 seconds?
Yeah. Everything. The audio, everything's delayed. So
okay, so
it's not like
we can handle 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's not like the stream notices any different. It's just if you're looking at chat, Mittens, at the same time as you're talking.
I was wondering why chat was seemed a little bit.
Yeah. You'll notice that. So okay. Apparently, Mercenary Coalition just lost 3 Rorquals just now in tribute. Links will be linked shortly.
Rip.
Yeah, I got the kill links right here coming up.
Pretty sure things like that are going to keep happening if NC moves into DO6. They're going to be so far away from tribute. That's going to be like open.
Yeah, how does that work? Because and maybe Jake you can answer this, or anyone here really. That I know you all are elite PvP solo specialists. Horde is following NC Dot around with this group called Partisans. If you put all your active PvP group, it's like taking the shield fleet out of Delve. They're putting them all in DO6. That's a hell of a long way from Veil the Silent and Geminate. How do you respond to, like, how do you go make money when your entire coalition's stuck in Declan? Well, pretty much Declan. Okay, we're up to 4 Oracles now. Apparently they're all dying.
Well, first you take control of Bomber's Bar completely, and you have it be led by an NC guy. And oh look, all of the wormholes you find never seem to go to NC, PL, or Horde space.
Yeah, so I'm going to reveal that right now. I was asked to keep this quiet, but I'll go ahead and reveal this. And we've pretty much come to the idea that Bomber's Bar is owned and
We've
run
known
by...
that since the casino.
No, not that.
Not Bomber's Bar.
No, this is something new. This is something new. So Bomber's Bar, one of their leaders, one of their CEOs, one of their guys in charge, he messaged me about 2 months ago and asked to join NGSA. He wanted to have the links and the views of NGSA so that he could drop in the north. That was his thing. So we were under the assumption that that was just Slice's way of trying to get the information that we were hiding from them. Since it's no longer being reported on Jabra, they couldn't openly see it. Only people that saw it were trusted individuals. We knew that that was their plan, was to get the Slice guys in there so they could see who was being tackled and where they were being tackled or who was being hunted. So we made a kind of like a dummy channel that gave them access to where all these hells rat. So they only got to see like a portion of what NGSA had. And that portion was where their hells ratted. Bombers Bar known for getting wormholes anywhere they need them. They roll them. Yet, in the 2 months they've had access to NGSA, not once had they tried to drop on these two hells they're at. Not once had they tried to drop on the Oracle that lives up there. So we knew pretty much that that was just a ploy for them to get access to something. So we gave them access to what we wanted. And that's now public. So high five, NGSA. Great work.
Speaking of high fives, I was giving shout outs on the fireside, and I got a late roster of shout outs here, so I'm going to give a shout out on the meta show. Two guys that were FCing Dreads during the fight on X47 that did not get a shout out on the fireside, so please make sure they get some love. Nolock and Kellen both were doing Dread groups during.
As well.
And Dashmu.
Oh yeah, Dashmu
Dread groups during the fight. And so there was this whole other battle that I don't think got much coverage, and maybe we should talk about that, which is the Titans Doomsday volleys. But there was all this crazy shit happening with dreads and subcaps. Which of you could really speak to what was happening with the dread group?
Well, one of the biggest. Oh, sorry.
Forrest, tell us about what was happening with the dread groups.
We had I believe 2 Jackdaw fleets out, probing around for disconnects and dropping like groups of 10, 15 dreads on top of them. Later into the fight, it went into saving friendly Titans and friendly Supers. That's basically what went around for the past
I had
hours.
I had one of those dread groups on me, and we killed at least a few of those Supers. Part of the dreads helped to kill the dreads that were doing killing Jay, trying to kill Jay, and failed. And we killed an AFK Titan, and later Desmu took that fleet over from me and continued the great work.
One thing we noticed in that fight, and this wasn't talked about too much, and I'm hoping that CCP is paying attention, they tend to watch this show, is that if anyone jumped out of O-N, and the hostiles learned this really quickly, and we learned it quickly, if you left O-N fight, like if you left the X47 fight to O-N, instead of appearing on the Fortizar, instead of spawning where you sinoed, you spawned 1,000,000 kilometers away. You got the same lag that you were getting in X47 in O-N, which had no tie-dye. So you would spawn 1,000,000 kilometers away and start to E-warp. But if you got tackled out there, you would die. And one of our best pilots in EVE, Hero of the Swarm, Kudmi, lost an avatar that way. Because he did not spawn next to the Fortizar. He spawned 1,000,000 kilometers away and never warped. So that is something that's that we experienced, that if anybody jumped out of the fight, they would have to E-warp down to where they sinoed, and that was a very, very nasty bit of oops. Because a couple of Supers and Titans died that way.
Yeah, I eventually, like 5 a.m. in the morning, I jumped out into low sec, and I just landed on my sino. So my avatar landed, just warped off into like deep space.
Yeah, there was a lot of Horde people there. This is something that Supercarty just brought up in chat.
Yep.
Horde was primarily bringing ECM bursting frigates, and I was wondering, did those make much of an impact on the battle besides causing tremendous lag waves?
That was literally the impact.
That was the intent of them.
The only thing they caused was fucking massive server lag, which was their goal.
We noticed pretty quickly, one of the things they tried to do that CCP, thankfully, thank you CCP, took care of, was they dropped about 200 MTUs all around the Keepstar, about 100k off the Keepstar in every direction.
They're mobile depots.
Or mobile
Even
depots.
If you reinforce them, the structure would stay there for the entire 2 days or however long.
K-Color, explain that real quick, because a lot of people may not know how that works.
I mean, they're just structures. They're additional structures that each client has to load whenever they try to load grid.
Yeah.
And they were just anchoring them. It was one person anchoring them, like 60, 70 of them across the entire grid. The entire purpose was to cause lag, was to cause disconnects, because if people can't load grid, the defenders win. It's a timer. They don't have to repair the Keepstar. As long as the 15 minutes goes by, then they win.
For example,
200 Archons wrapping it.
Yeah, for example, one of the bigger key things, the ECM burst, they died pretty quickly. And at one point in the fight, once Horde was pretty much eviscerated, like all those subcaps were gone, the lag actually cleared up for a while. Like the commands started coming through on a pretty common every 10 minutes, I think was the amount. So you could tell the difference between the ECM being alive and being dead. There actually is one Titan that I think they saved with the ECM bursting from super carriers, which is a pretty valid thing, where a couple of super carriers survived. Holy shit. I've got breaking news coming in. I don't know if it's been verified yet. According to what I'm just told, CO2 may have just reset the entire north.
Breathe, boat, breathe.
I don't know if this is true. Is this true? I'm getting a report right now that CO2... GigX has posted on Reddit. We are resetting GOTG and PanFam as of this moment.
Do you believe that it's actually GigX?
I don't know yet.
Okay,
but
so
it was the same guy that posted... Yeah, let's try to confirm this. I don't know if it's a troll or not, but...
This person with one post and one comment.
Damn it, I just got like 8... I just got like 9 PMs on Discord going, Boat, this is huge! I'm like, sorry. Well,
I can't believe you fell for that.
Well, this is people I trust, so I mean...
Exactly.
They fell for it, and then they told me.
Of the original post.
I hate my life. Alright, anyway, I have something... I do have something I will be showing you in just a moment, and then we'll get the image here in a second.
Got my hopes up there.
But about the lag...
The fact that we've got a 30-second delay is amazing, because I can get done with face-palming and cringing, and then watching everybody else.
Sorry, it was a meme. I didn't verify the source. I was just excited, okay? God damn it. Anyway, so here's the link for you guys to enjoy the meme. God damn it. But back to the serious point about ECM. Gobbins had sent broadcasts telling people to get into ECM ships, and his exact words were, bring every alt you have, even your skill farmers, your alpha clones, bring everything you've got, stick them in these frigates, do as much jamming and ECM bursting as you can. Now, a lot of people look at that with very context. Some people say, oh, he's just trying to win. Other people saying that it's not. But I don't know.
There's no way that ECM bursting frigates would have stopped 200 or 399 Titans or whatever it was from grabbing the Keepstar.
Right.
I mean, from a member's point of view, imagine being told that your job is to essentially try and damage the server while not enjoying yourself and flying in a frigate that's going to die really quickly. That's not engaging for anyone.
Well, and the thing is, they held their fighters from all their supers, all their carriers, until the moment the ECM burst started firing. So they told all their super carriers and carriers, don't deploy your fighters till we tell you. Then as soon as the ECM burst fired from all these frigates, they said, okay, everyone deploy fighters, everyone deploy this. It was an attempt to cause the server to shit itself. It was a blatant attempt. We knew they were going to do it. The fact, though, that you can't really prove it because it wasn't set in-game. It was just set in third-party sites. That really puts a hamper on everything. So,
well, you know, I try to look at it from a double-edged sword perspective. On the one hand, it sucks that Horde is there and they're trying to lag out the server and do all these things that are, you know, the kind of things that Goonswarm was accused of doing back in the day. And we never actually used lag tactics in any way, but people would accuse us of it because we would show up in frigates. On the other hand, if Horde hadn't have been there, we wouldn't have been able to fuck with the comms of our enemies for hours and hours and hours. Yeah. So the fact that Horde was there meant that Vertiso and Jinul could get in there and work their fucking magic. So I think that we got the better end of it. They brought ECM bursts, and we brought our best trolls.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
I mean, if anything, we just proved that the ECM bursting wasn't that effective because we killed 29 Titans. No,
that is very true. It didn't work.
Keepstar left.
Yeah, on a Keepstar, no less.
Yeah, K-Color, tell us about that. Like, why did the Keepstar matter so much in that situation? What was so big about that?
Why did the tether and...
Yeah, he's asking for why tethering matters for what
explain that to the viewers.
You explained it earlier. I don't know if it's an exploit. It's definitely a bug or unintended mechanics. But the whole thing about your Doomsday cooldown not giving you a weapons timer if your target dies is definitely not an intended effect. The fact that you can Doomsday and then retether in under a minute is broken while your Doomsday is cycling down. So you're tethered, you're regaining all the cap you just used, and your Doomsday is cooling down. Like, there's the only counterplay to that is what we ended up doing. And I'm not even sure if we really knew about it ahead of time, but the dropping supers at 0 on a Keepstar was basically just us going all in. Like, it was an all or nothing play.
I'll have to say, the second we did that, I was like, okay. The question then became not... do we win? Because we were ahead on Titan kills at one point. It was, how do we leave? how do we get out of here? And I think the reply from Asher at that point was, Boat, I think the only way we leave is if they let us. And they eventually do.
We just kill them until they give... Like, basically what happened was we just had to kill them until they gave up and docked.
Right, yeah.
Exactly what we did.
You had to break Killer B, right? Once Killer B...
No, please, my ass isn't meant to stretch this much, and then he left.
Yeah, I think that... No, I think that's a serious thing here, and I want to talk about this. That fight does not go well for them for the next 8 hours that they could have held us there, but if they truly wanted to try it, we had 160 super carriers and bubbles inches from their Titans and in tether range. They could have fucked with us for hours.
They could have fucked with us from downtime.
Right.
And I think this is one of the biggest reasons why, I mean, it's not the biggest reason, but I think it is a factor in why we won. Because we were sitting there and calculating this towards the end, which is this. Think about the pilot's perspective, the line pilots in the Imperium and the line pilots in NC Dot. For us, the battle was over, but we had to stay there. It was either lose your Titan or stay put and fight to the end. As opposed to NC Dot, their perspective was, well, I can just dock up and quietly go to bed whenever I feel like it. So as more and more of their pilots just quietly didn't say anything to the FC and just quietly docked up and then vanished to go have a life, our guys were fucking committed. They had to be there and fight to the end. And so as they lost numbers, the numbers of kills we got increased, which inspired more of the bad guys to log off and go home.
Yeah, around like 0400, it was like 300 of our Titans to like 150 of theirs. And if that would have went till downtime and they wouldn't have been able to tether, that's going to be a lot of dead Titans if we
No, that's the thing. It wouldn't have been. By the time they called to pull out, the last Doomsday on Snake, 90% of our fleet did not have enough topes to Doomsday again.
Yeah,
we had just Doomsday.
I went through 750,000 topes myself. I think I DD'd 10 times, something like 11 times. I don't even know the exact number. But here's a thing you're seeing on screen. So I did pull up this clip. This is what it looks like when the most Titans in history DD a single Titan. This is a record. No, not this many DDs have never went on one Titan ever. I think it was over 200 when we DD'd him. I think everyone was ordered to DD at the same time.
It was just weapons free. Everybody was so hungry to kill this thing and cheering Jay on with the bumping.
The best part was that Jay, with his lift, died to that Titan AoE explosion that everyone was complaining about.
He didn't even die to the fucking Keepstar. Here's a thing, though, and I think there was a turning point with this. A lot of people didn't notice this. I spent the whole fight just checking to see what they were doing and what we could do better. At one point, we realized, and this is, I guess, where we mock our enemies very severely, is one of the biggest mistakes they had is I don't think they were coordinating externally in a way like we were. So we coordinated this like we did B-R. At one point, we were trying to do different fleets DD and different targets, but that just didn't work. It doesn't work, right? DDs cool down differently. Some DDs work, some don't. So eventually we just went to the point where in a channel, with everyone able to see, X up if you have this guy locked and you're ready to DD him, put a C if you're ready to DD this other guy, and you would count the number of DDs and just fire, right? It became indiscriminate. You had 300 people to choose from, and it got to a point where we were hitting 3 to 1. We would hit 3 DDs targets to their 1 DD target, and even if they saved one, we still had a numerical advantage that was just unbelievable. But at that point, they had people docking up. They had almost 30 Titans that weren't even in DD range of us, because they had docked up, realized, oh shit, the fight's still going, and undocked again. And that put them 50 kilometers away from all the other Titans, which DD range is only 300k. So it put them out of DD range for a lot of their Titans. And you'll notice at one point in the fight, they throw a swing and a miss. So they threw a DD, and the guy repped. It was an Erebus. That doesn't happen if you have enough DDs. And they didn't have enough DDs in reserve to then finish the job. One time we failed, and I think K-Color or Jay can comment on this. We failed at killing a guy. Like, he tanked. Went up to about 20% armor, and then another 20 DDs came after from Tibrizzle. Tibrizzle goes, okay, fire everything, and then we blew him up. So that's something I don't think they could do.
You have to bait out the EHEs. You have to have enough to force it, and then you just finish it off with.
There was a lot of tension about the EHEs and people tethering up and not doomsdaying to save their Titan and just like sitting there AFK. There's a lot of people getting shouted at and stirring the pot.
That was sorry. May I bring up, because
sure.
We're getting close to the end, and I think we haven't really talked about the fact that Killer Flea told all his faction titans and supers to dock up.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that.
And we just dropped our vendettas with our normal super carriers on their titans at 0 to tackle them. I think that's something we really need to bring up here and talk about.
Yeah, so let's do that. So, for those that don't know, Killer Flea decided to tell all his Vindicators. He was trying to say this in like command comms, but he keyed up wrong, and he proceeded to tell everybody, if get out, tell all your fucking corps if they have a vendetta or a faction titan to dock them up. We don't want to give them an easy kill board win. We lost to Moloch. The guy's fit was worth more than my fit and Titan combined, right? He had 160 billion in Draclira mods, okay? And everybody high-fived that guy. Was like, good job, dude. High five. You lost the Titan.
Half a trillion ISK, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he didn't care.
I feel bad for him, not because he died, but because of how he died. Like, if he died on the field, there would be no regrets. But, like, disconnecting and losing it that way, that just sucks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of irony here, because a thing to keep in mind about Killer Flea is that here's a guy who was bragging constantly and streaming his Vanquisher. He's basically constantly trying to put a spotlight on the fact that he has a fucking, he's got a fucking Vanquisher, he's got a faction Titan, and then when the chips are down, when it actually matters, he hides it. He's afraid to actually take risks because he's a coward. After bragging, I mean, if he had been always just like, oh, I've got a Vanquisher, but I keep it parked, that would be one thing. It'd be like, okay, that's just what he is. But this dude has been bragging. It's like part of his fucking identity that he has this special spaceship.
Right.
And when it actually matters, oops, suddenly he's gotta look out for the kill boards.
You mentioned chips, and that's a very key point here. This Vanquisher was purchased with his casino money. That's how he got it.
It is literally a example of dark money.
This is how he got the thing, and he used to brag so much that he would jump it in first and be like, I dare you to target me. I dare you to shoot this thing because it's going to live. And that was his biggest plea. Hakonnen, for example, he jumped it in and goes, I dare you to dread bomb it. You won't. Right? Like, that's the thing with this Vanquisher. Yet he never even undocked it. He didn't even bring it. And the reason we know that they were doing this is they docked up 2 Vanquishers and both pilots undocked in Erebus's.
This is, it is kind of ironic. So, essentially, this guy got paid for his part in the casino war by Linny. And then he bought a Vanquisher with it. And then all of the ISK got taken away because, lo and behold, it was dirty, exploited ISK, and CCP removed all that liquid ISK. So, Killer lost most of his trillion ISK, but he had bought a Vanquisher. Pandemic Legion was very unhappy because Pandemic Legion thought that they would be getting some of the dirty casino money from Killer Flea. But he didn't share, so he got to keep the Vanquisher. The rest of the dirty money was taken away. So essentially, not only is he trying to be cowardly about a Vanquisher, it's a Vanquisher that he didn't even earn. He got that thing with dirty money, and he's just hiding with it. Instead of going like, oh, I got it with dirty money, I'll, be bold with it. I don't really care. It's not really my ISK. I shouldn't even really have it, because he shouldn't really have it, because that ISK shouldn't have even existed. But it's just really, it's just impressively weak.
I mean, our newbies, who are no longer Rifters, no longer battleships, no longer Scares, they're now Titans. They fly what they can afford to lose. There were Titan pilots in that fight going, when it dies, I'll get a new one. I don't give a fuck. Like, who cares? That guy... Just the way he sounded throughout the entire fight was, yeah, I don't think we can afford this. It just felt like the money was on his mind. Like, get the faction shit safe. Hey, make sure you have the emergency hull energizers. Hopefully you won't die. If you do go to die, please stock up, Oh,
he was shouting at someone, like, because both sides obviously had someone, listening and saying, oh, this is going to be the next Doomsday primary. He would tell someone, like, oh, you're the next DD primary, get ready to EHE, use your EHE. Then he'd use it, it would run out too soon, and he'd have a go at the guy for using it too soon. Like, it was very tense.
We're running low on time.
Jay, we got a very critical question here from chat that I want to direct to Jay Mazimus. What what happens to cowards' mothers, Jay?
He crashed again.
He's probably just making food. He's like,
Already fighting another PL gang.
All right, real quick, before we get to that question, two things we got to talk about before we go. For one, number one is next Wednesday is the big fight. That's the final timer. I see it going one of two ways. First way is they sit right on the undock point, so that's their safest way to get away. They fight within that range, and then when it gets to about half structure, maybe a third structure, they jump out to DO6, call it a day. That's the one way it'll go. Or the other way is they bring up the whole South, and they bring everybody, and then they all in on this. What is the most likely outcome? And I guess we could ask each of you this. So I'd like to start with K-Color. What do you think is the most likely outcome on Wednesday? What do you think is going to happen?
they're just going to go for easy kills, and then when it gets low, they'll dock up, jump out, or just dock up, log off.
Well, they can't really dock, can they?
Yeah, you can dock.
Yeah, you'll be able
dock,
to.
and then it'll go boom.
Yeah, but if you're logged off when it goes boom, I think it just like moves you somewhere else. Or
It goes to
like
asset safety.
It goes to asset safety, so 5 days later they'll end up in a Fortizar. So.
Well, if they do that with a Titan, that's a pretty hefty 15% tax that they've got to deal with. At least if it goes to outside of the system.
If it's in the same system and they still have citadels in the same system,
right.
then they have to pay like less than 5%. So that's not that expensive.
Yeah. So Apple, you talking? Tell us what happens.
There's two ideas.
K-Color, please finish.
There's two scenarios. The second scenario is they call up PL and they call up all the South, and then we ask Test to come up and bring all of theirs, and we kind of even out the numbers a little bit. But now they're fighting on a Keepstar that's probably going to die. I don't think you can actually stop a Keepstar from dying with how there's just too many Titans. I don't think you can clear enough Titans off the field to actually stop the DPS.
If Test comes and the South comes, that's 1,200 Titans potentially. Can the game handle that?
Well, probably not, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're betting on.
Well, one of their FCs was saying during the thing, like, oh, you know, if this doesn't work, at least we'll crash the server, or at least we'll take out the node.
Yeah.
Yeah, they. What was interesting is that the enemy, they brought all their ECM bursting frigates and they failed to crash the node. So, for the next go round, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because usually when there's a huge loss, like when there's a very humiliating public loss, like there was for the enemy in the X47 and in BR5, you see their numbers go down, and the participation we've seen from our enemies in these iHub contests has been pretty shit. Since X47, but of course we do have to win.
None of them formed for their iHubs. They lost 2 iHubs that we reinforced. I want to say 12 different iHubs and TCUs at the same time. They didn't even bother to form because
I'm actually
they
gonna
had
have
no
to,
numbers.
I think I'm gonna have to pay out someone, because I think it was an NGSA guy that reinforced those first ones. But while the
and we have more iHubs coming out at like 900 EVE today, correct?
Yeah, 0900 Sunday, and then pretty much all of EUTZ Sunday. There's iHub timers.
And
so yeah, guys, if you're watching this and you can be around from early tomorrow, 900 EVE, or really late tonight, depending on your perspective, and keep on going, we have a lot of iHubs to clear, which will let us get at more Keepstars to kill.
Here's a point I want to. This is the second thing we need to talk about. An Apple Pair, I want to get to you on this. Is one of their talking points from 9-4 was, well, maybe if you don't use siege fighters and siege supers from 1,000k away, the server will handle it better and everything will be fine. Look what we did to this Keepstar back when we had 5,000 in local, the server was fine. But then you look at X47 and it could barely handle 3,500. It felt the same with the server situation in X47 as the fight in UALX. 3,500 was about the max before the server really ate itself. And so let's ask this, Apple Pair, since we're going around. What do you think is the outcome for Wednesday? Like, what do they do? What's their game plan in your mind?
I think at first we will have a dead Keepstar, and that's good. And they're not going to stop that. That's just like they're going to lose that damn thing unless they kill the node, and that's just like I don't see that happening. I don't think they want to do that. And I think their numbers and their morale is so much diminished that they do a token defense, I don't get the feeling, seeing especially what they did, that they don't even form for Dingus. We today, like a few hours ago, we announced that like 2 days ahead that we were breaking out all our supers that were disconnected from Euro time zone and those kind of things. And the only person who showed up was CO2 with some units, GigX, holding the line. No NC. Yeah, NC had 8 token Macarials to smart bomb something, but nobody showed up even to try to stop us from breaking out our supers, etc., that were disconnected and were Euros that had to go to bed, etc. So we just moved like 50 supers, 25 Titans, something like that, shitloads of subcaps, and those are ready tomorrow again to help kill more IOPS, and Wednesday to kill that thing. So I don't have the feeling they want to do. They're like tired. They're not there anymore, and they also don't have the people to do it. They don't have the FCs. You see always the same FCs. They don't have people to switch out or work together, etc. They don't have the people for that. So yeah, I think they just
The burnout, I think that you make a very good point there about the energy levels, which is, when you're committing for an entire day of fighting both CCP and the enemy, it's exhausting. And it's exhausting even if you win, right? Like, for everyone who was here as part of that fight, I wasn't even in the game and I was zonked the next day. But the amount of exhaustion that you feel if you go through something like that, I would guess, because we haven't lost one of these fights, but I would guess that it's pretty exhausting to be on the losing side.
Well, no, actually, I do want to point that out, though, because DW happened with the jammer, with them succeeding in saving that second timer, with them jamming the system, and having this huge morale moment where they're like, fuck yeah, our 2,000 subcaps and supers and stuff won the day. But they didn't do anything after that. They just said, okay, yeah, we won, hooray, high five, and then they quietly went back to nothing. Whereas we win this, and now you're seeing the effects of it. iHubs are falling. iHubs are getting hit. Fortizar's getting hit. More people breaking out that were stuck there for a while. Like, I don't know if the viewers know this, it's fucking hard as hell to get away from a Keepstar. We lost an Aeon in the process. Keepstars are fucking deadly.
That Aeon was at 18% armor, or possibly it was armor or hull when it.
He was in armor, down to 10% pretty quick. Yeah, but that's the thing is that Keepstars are nasty. Like they're easy to defend. You should never lose one if you really throw a defense at it. It's very hard to lose one. So the fact that we got away is just absolutely awesome. That is it's just great.
Got an interesting question here from Caboose, and I'll answer it out loud. Apologize for the 30-second delay. But he asks, are there any plans for the Northern Sov after the burn campaign? And the answer is not really, no. Like, we don't want their space. It's shit compared to Delve. But what we do want to do is something that we had really wanted to do 4 years ago in BR5, which was to kill the NC Dot Superfleet. And we will continue to do this every time that we're able to destroy hostile Titans, because our enemies, and I love to talk about this because I know it drives the bad guys crazy, so I apologize to everybody here who might be sick of me pointing about a dark money and exploited ISK and cheaters, basically, but it does make the bads unhappy. Most of the fleets that we are blowing up are fleets that were bought with gambling money that was taken away by CCP. So, since our enemies don't know how to make ISK legitimately, they can only rely on exploits that have been removed from the game. When we destroy their Titans, they're screwed. They don't have the ability to restore them. So our goal is to continue to get rich, to go north, and we're basically just punching downward, right? Like, we've got this huge super fleet. We can earn it. We can throw our Molochs around. We can throw our Vendettas around because we actually know how to make ISK without relying on a casino. And every time we blow up their shit, they're screwed. They don't have the ability to make it back. So we're basically just getting vengeance for the casino war and bringing justice back to the game by removing dark money fleets.
And even though it may be casino money too, it's also a hit. Sorry, you guys got a little bit of audio there. We got something brand new and amazing to show you in a moment. It's a new modified CCP Please that was just finished, but it has not. I'm trying to get it to work, and that's why you heard a bit of audio there. Anyway, the point is, we've got this situation where it's rental income and rental money versus hard-earned farmed money. So the Delve Time unit versus a rental empire. And it's a testament to, can a rental empire bring enough money to the table to fund the replacement of 27 Titans a fight? If that fight continues, I mean, you look at UALX, Titans died. You look at that situation, Titans died. Is there enough production inside the North to make this? So one point that one of our people pointed out recently is, while there may be infinite amounts of money in the game, there isn't enough minerals in the game to support 50 Titans dying a go. So you have to be able to rebuild the things, right? You may have the IS to replace it, but do you have the what do you want to call it? The economic empire, the steel and the iron to replace it? Because dollar bills and paper money and ISK don't replace a Titan. It's the minerals and the people that build it. So does the North have this? And I don't know if they do.
Well, if you compare our space to theirs, like, you know, members that live in Imperium space get the most out, get everything out of every system, right? We all have an equal right to get the most out of the system. If they're renting all these systems out, sure, they're getting money from it, but the whole principle of renting is they're getting, like, you know, they pay a small amount and then they get to make the most out of the space. So their rental empire pays them a percentage of what space is worth, whereas, you know, our members get 100% out of the space they live in and can build more Titans.
That's why they always cry. They cry every couple months. You'll see these big push from them saying, "Oh, if CCP were to add a rig to an Athanor that only gave us 40% of the minerals on the moon, but it was passive income, we'd really like that." Yeah, I bet the fuck you would, because you don't want to mine it. You don't want to log in and play the game.
Yeah, that's one of their biggest pushes lately in their CSM push, is to get CCP to go, well, at least give us some of those minerals, at least give us some of the money that we make in passive income. They really hated the old moon system going away. They loved it because it meant that they didn't have to do anything. One or two guys could mine all... Yeah, right.
I think it would be interesting, though, because since they have not really... They haven't really platformed their space, right? So, like, let's say that they did add a rig. I think it's a dumb idea. I like the current system. But hypothetically, this is an example of a really foolish political argument from the North. Let's say that you did have a rig that gave passive income back to alliances, and it was like 40% of the current production or something. We have thousands of platforms in Delve. Literally thousands of mining platforms, because we did the work. We put the platforms down there. They are in the Southwest, and we are dug in deep. So if you suddenly gave the entire game the ability to do this, the bad guys have, what, maybe 50, maybe 100 per alliance? We have thousands of them. So, sure, I mean, I think it's a bad idea.
Forgetting, Mittens, is that they're allied with CO2. And if they introduce passive moon mining, there's going to be drama in Venal over CO2 taking other people's moons.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out, I just got a message from Villy here. He says, since the ULX fight, to give an idea to what happens when these guys, quote-unquote, lose or win, since UALX, they've reinforced or killed 1 Fortizar and 2 Astra Houses. That's it.
From what I understand, from what I understand, the Legacy Coalition has been on a counterattack.
Right, and according to my sources, Fraternity have stopped the war effort and are actually doing fun ops. They're doing 100-man Ferox fleets, going around killing ratting... Well, they're going around killing ratting supers, ratting Oracle, mining Oracle, stuff like that, pretty much daily now. So instead of going after iHubs and Fortizars and Keepstars, they're going after the... they're doing the Wolfpack thing. You know what I mean? Like
they're getting time zone tanked. It's the same thing kind of happening up north, where you just kind of set your shit to the time zone that the hostiles are the weakest in, not necessarily what you're strongest in.
So you mean what CCP, we warned CCP would happen if they allowed time zone tanking to be a thing on Fortizars and Keepstars?
Pretty much.
Well, I think it's going to be curious to see what happens. The fact that, you know, this is another thing. You can't hide an evac plan from your line members. And when NC has taken DO6H as a Keepstar from Guardians of the Galaxy, it makes it very clear to everyone that they are planning on losing X-47. And they are planning on evacing to DO6H as their next stager.
Right.
So, you know, going into that... one of the things I saw from some agent reports just yesterday is you're already seeing people in the leadership in Guardians of the Galaxy and their affiliated allies saying, please don't fire sale your shit. Why are you running? Why are you fire sailing? We should, stay here and fight. That kind of shit.
I want to take a quick moment to thank our new resubscribe. 45 months.
45 months. Jesus Christ.
That's a lot of bucks being thrown the way of INN, and thank you very much for your long-term subscription. Two things before we go. One is they're going the wrong way. We learned this when we left the North and we went to Saranin. The deeper you get into that place, the harder it is to get back out safely. Right? When you dive deeper into Declan, when you dive deeper into DO6, into DW, it's very hard to get out of there because you have to mid. Now, I mean, Fortizar's making it a little safer, but you got to mid to a system and then jump out to get back to Tribute. That's what made X47 so great for them. That's the reason they lived there. It allowed them to easily sneak away back to Tribute if things went bad, right? They didn't have to stay in X47. They could be like, oh, you know what? We're just going to go home. You know, we don't need to be here. But now they're in DO6. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous. Not that I'm trying to tell our enemies they're being stupid, but they're being stupid.
If you want to win, go back and live in Branch for 2 months. We'll get bored and we'll leave if you all live in Branch. Trust me. So let's go the keep stars, and then we'll fuck off.
There ain't no fucking... Well, that's the thing.
Leave CO2 in Fade and live in Branch. I promise you, you will be spared.
There's nobody in Teal right now, yet nobody's hitting Teal. Go to Teal. Go back into Teal. Go back into Cobalt Edge. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with you there. Nobody wants to go back into there. Real quick, we got a cool thing I want to show, and then we'll wrap it up here because we are out of time. We have a new CCP Please. It was just finished today, just this moment. It's been in progress for a couple weeks. I really like this one, and I want to share it. There! It's 30 seconds delayed, obviously, but they'll see it in a moment.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, what was that, Vertiso? You wanted to say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, there was just one before we finished. There was one little anecdote I wanted to share from the other night because I was trying to be wary of what I say and what I don't say because I don't want to get in trouble. But one thing that was pretty entertaining was, and this was about 3 or 4 a.m., so I was pretty intoxicated and quite tired at this point. I meant to relay one of the instructions I heard on their comms into Discord, and I accidentally pressed push to talk in the channel that Killer B was sat in, and said it relayed his own commands back to him. And there's obviously a bit of a witch hunt kicked off. And I realised I could just reconnect with a different name 30 seconds later. So I said, sorry about that, guys. Be right back. Got left, came back with a different name and said, all right, guys, I'm back now. Carry on.
Did we ever mention the fact that NC kicked all of their allies with the mumble?
Yeah, that
we did, which is fantastic.
Right in the middle of the fight, too. Like, halfway in the fight. Like, when shit was going down to the most serious business moment. So, yeah.
I want to start a pool here. How many work walls do we think Psychotic Tendency will kill in the next week?
Who's Psychotic Tendency?
Adversity, the people that are like up in Phenol. Now that NC's kind of moved further away from all of that area, what are you guys predicting?
Oh, that's right, because they've been hunting Tribute, haven't they?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be beautiful. I mean, NC Dot is failing as a babysitter. They don't really have the ability to wipe the asses of CO2 and Guardians of the Galaxy and keep their work.
I remember what I wanted to bring up. I had a blank moment for there a little bit, but with PL gone, they lose this. I think these last few fights, UALX and X47 have shown that the boogeyman aspect of NCPL's Titan fleet is no longer there. It used to be that people would look at this NCPL Titan fleet and go, yeah, we're not going to use our Titans for stat. We'll be a little more reserved. I think that's gone now. Test has shown that they're not scared of PL, that they're going to throw their Titans in the face of PL, like, who gives a fuck? And then UALX showed that we just had more than them. And I think that boogeyman aspect that NCPL have relied on, because they're not very big, right? NCPL don't have gigantic numbers, so they've had to rely on scaring the enemy into not coming to win these massive fights. And I think that's the situation we have now, is nobody's scared of them anymore. No, they've lost that elite PvP status.
I'm more scared of French Connection than I am of NC now. French Connection are a good group of guys, to be fair.
Oh,
They've been
yeah,
a pain, yes.
I hate dealing with them. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty good.
So I think
Basically,
yeah.
Leonidas has made Xerxes bleed. Is that what you're saying?
That would be a good way. That'd be a good analogy. Yeah, I think it's you have this. Yeah, that's a great analogy. That the Persians, no one's scared of the Persians anymore. Like their numbers mean nothing. Go ahead, Shingley. You were gonna say.
I think the absence of that whole boogeyman aspect and the sort of fact that their fleet is no longer quite as intimidating as it used to be is going to play a big role. Like why I really don't think they're going to commit fully on Wednesday.
I think that one of the big things that their pet system has been based on is the idea that they have the biggest pile of supers and titans. And now, not only do they not have the biggest pile of supers and titans, we kicked their asses 6 ways from Sunday in the face of their Keepstar. So all of their pets that were clustering around them, thinking that they could rely upon NC Dot as a source of strength, have been shown that essentially it's every pet for themselves. NC Dot cannot save you. The only thing that you can do is run.
Right. Here's the great analogy with the bootlickers thing. It's like, look at it'd be like imagine you have a celebrity who's being followed around by like 50, 60 people all the time, and then all those 50 and 60 people realize that they have no money, and they just disappear. They weren't real friends, right? That's the situation you're going to end up real quickly in with NCPL. Nobody is going to want to be their friend because that super umbrella that NCPL pseudo projected is no longer going to be there. It's that fear to keep all their people in line is gone.
Can I bring us something up we talked about,
sure.
etc. That I would like to hope, because I have a real annoyance with a Keepstar that's in Noonan, and I really hope that Keepstar that is paid by dark casino money, etc., and is a free port for everybody except the Imperium, because they don't need free ports.
You want us to ref apple? We'll ref it for you.
Yes. I want to kill that damn thing. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because was it White Legion who owned it, or whatever the group's called? Ghost Legion made the announcement that Pandemic Horde has asked us to remove the Imperium's ability to dock in that like Snuffbox and initiative because they're hostile and violating the true intent of it. But then they let the entire North stay there. We knew it was a farce, but that's a good point. Also, the Keepstar that's located in Amamaki, same situation. That's a dirty Keepstar that I think needs to be visited at some point.
All right, well, we've gone over, but it's been a special occasion because we have so much smugging to do. I'm sort of in like a smug afterglow here.
I'm not even finished smugging. There's so much more things I could mock them about, but we'll have to save it for next week when we kill the Keepstar.
Right, well, everybody together.
Do you think now they've witnessed the power of heavy interdict vendettas, they'll even risk untethering the Keepstar?
We didn't even talk about that yet. Hold on, we can't go anywhere yet. Supers becoming new Hictors. Thank you, CCP, for allowing frigates to tackle Titans. The second that CCP allowed frigates to tackle Titans, I bet you they never expected us to drop 100 supers at 0 on Titans and tackle them that way.
Yep, they are.
I don't think they were expecting
They're jump
that.
Hictors. They're
jump Hictors, yeah.
Also, shout out to KNR Mighty Germ 1 pointing out that remember back in the day when people were scared to death of Bob and Lock of Volterra until we beat the shit out of them in JV1V. And after that happened, they realized that their masters were not invincible and that they needed to flee, which is exactly what all the Greater Bob Coalition people did.
Yeah, actually, they fled right into NC Dot.
Actually,
funny. It's true.
But that's a point, though. A lot of people are wondering, what do you mean by the tackle Aeons? Each super carrier had 2 heavy scrams fit. So each super carrier was 12 points. You only need 5 super carriers to tackle a Titan in that situation. So we had 100 there. So we just told all of our supers and Titans, point the 2 guys were going to DD. They could not tether. They couldn't safe up. It breaks your tether mechanic, and then they ate shit. So it was amazing. If it wasn't for those people, we don't kill a single target in that fight. I don't think we would have been able to successfully DD anything. So that was
something else. We forgot about the fact that Saw Dragon lost another Titan in the next 2 months, and we didn't wimp on him like we did, like happened in BTEC-R. So I'm wondering if we can kill another sword titan in the next fight.
We'll just keep churning through these things.
Yeah, I actually, Matterall, hi Matterall, how's it going? We actually asked if we managed to snag your Titan. We didn't know if you were one of the ones we got or not. We were actually concerned. Every time we would DD, it goes, oh, was that Matterall? Please not be Matterall. We like Matterall. But last points. Anyone have anything before we go here?
I think that's it for this week. We will catch you all next week. Thank you all for coming as our guests, and thank you for our audience. We broke 900 viewers there for the maximum Smug explosion.
Oh,
and
my bet is 12 oracles by next fireside.
Yeah,
iHub Ops 900 Eve be there.
If this thing dies, I'm telling you, if this thing dies Wednesday, next Saturday's meta show is going to be worse. We're going to have like 50 guests on here. We're going to really fucking smug it up. I guess.
I hope so.
Oh, I can't wait. All right, see you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks for coming, guys. We'll
Bye-bye.
see you.
Thanks, David.
Cheers.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.